Hi, everybody. Buenos dias. Thank you so much for viewing our digital fireside chat today. I am Megan Grove, the customer engineer at MX Data, and we have new guests with us today.
Yes, I'm Jada Bates. I'm the marketing associate at MX Data, and we are so excited today to announce Ever Flores, and he's the solutions manager. We have Gracia Lopez, who's the head of marketing, both from EJJE Group in El Salvador. We have partnered with EJJE on multiple big retail pro accounts, so we are very excited to have them today to talk about international retail. From MX Data's side, we also have Milton, who is a key asset to our team, who works closely with a lot of our Latin America retailers. So we're very excited today.
Yes, thank you for the introductions, Jada, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Like Jada already said, MXD and EJJE have worked closely on several international retail projects over the last many years. I don't know if I want to say decades because I don't want to age anybody, but I do think it goes back quite a while. So we really value and input your feedback on the topic that we have today, which is international retail. Okay, so there has been a noticeable increase in international retailers expanding their global footprint, specifically in Latin America, and quite often over the past few years. So several factors contribute to this trend, including the combination of economic growth, market potential, urbanization, infrastructure development, and of course, e-commerce expansion. So Ever, I was wondering if you could give us a little insight on these factors and how you see them contributing to the growth of the retail market in Latin America.
Thank you, Megan. Well, basically, in the last few years, definitely the region, all Latin America, has been growing a lot. There has been a lot of investment all over the different infrastructures in the different countries. Obviously, our population it's more centralized in different cities around the area. And there is a lot of young population that it's basically buying and trying to get the new trends that are coming, especially from the US. So obviously for us in Latin America, there is a lot of influence that comes from North America and also from Europe. And obviously that's something that is important for us because we can go and get into those kind of customers depending on what you're selling or what you're trying to grow within the region.
Nice, and specifically e-commerce. So in Latin America, there was a peak of e-commerce business mostly in 2022, the biggest peak that you guys have actually ever seen, which was about 39% increase. And that was actually a delayed response to the mass digitization in 2020, 2021, which was the COVID impact on e-commerce. Tell us why you think, was Latin America like a little late to the game with e-commerce, or why did we see a trend later on rather than right kind of during and after COVID?
Actually, yes, there was obviously an increase within when we were in the pandemic. That increase obviously was for retailers not to close operations and to stay into business during that period of time. Obviously, that made a huge impact on them. And when they saw that they had a potential of selling on e-commerce, they saw that there was a need for them to do it. Usually, our retailers didn't want to invest, as they call it, into selling into the e-commerce. But there was a peak after pandemic. They saw the potential. They saw that a lot of customers were buying online. There were different marketplaces or places that they could sell their product, not only their website, and that also made a lot of increase on their sales. That 39% that you mentioned, it's actually, I think, a little bit more because most of the sales you're doing it online. You're probably selling through, I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, obviously on your webpage and some other different areas. And that obviously gives a new idea for customers to do their marketing sales or their marketing approach on their products. There are some countries that obviously are more e-commerce orientated and that have been into that selling more ahead of all the different other countries like Mexico, Chile, and most probably Brazil, Colombia. Those countries have been doing online selling through marketplaces more than the rest of the countries. But right now, I think that there is a trend for all countries for selling online.
So that's interesting point because I was just going to say, so Latin America is one of the most urbanized regions globally.
Mhm.
Yes, so there's a huge concentration of the population which makes it easier for retailers to reach a large number of consumers by establishing stores in strategic locations. What would you say are the most populated or just urbanized and successful regions for retailers right now in Latin America?
Definitely, that should be Mexico. Mexico is obviously a huge country for Latin America, a huge market. A lot of the different brands are trying to be in Mexico. Also, Chile is another country. Santiago in Chile, it's a country that has a lot of population, a lot of stores. Retail, it's I think one of the most important aspects of Chile, besides all the different other areas that they have. Brazil obviously has a huge market. Obviously, Brazil it's a little bit complex on the fiscal, but it's also important on the size of the population.
Got it. So Mexico. So Milton, you're from Mexico originally, right? Now residing in New York, but you moved here from Mexico. What's your
Yes.
take on the Mexican retail market? Any input or feedback on that?
No, Mexican, it's very important because it's, I don't know, it's a huge population. And then that's why Mexico is most important right now, no?
Is it Mexico City, or are there other cities in Mexico that also are kind of driving the retail market?
Mexico City is the most important city in Mexico, but we have another ones like Monterrey, Guadalajara, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you have a lot of retail pro accounts in Mexico?
We do
Uh,
direct. Sorry.
Oh, go
No,
ahead.
that was directed to Ever. Yeah.
Yes, we have a few customers in Mexico. Obviously, for them, Mexico it's an important country. We have a few customers over there, and obviously there are other retail customers. I know that there, but we have an important presence. I
Yeah.
can say that.
Good. And what about the infrastructure development? So there have been improvements in infrastructure, such as like transportation networks and logistics, which have made it easier for international retailers to actually operate. And this has kind of like reduced the barriers to entry and facilitated the expansion of retail chains across the region. Would you agree with that statement, or what are your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree on your statement. I think that the infrastructure has improved a lot in the last maybe 20 years. There was a huge gap between Latin America and the US that has been decreasing over the years. And I think that for international accounts that want to expand or brands that want to expand, Latin America is not as it was 20 years ago. I think internet has made a lot of things easier for us, and obviously we can connect to different infrastructures, different hardwares, or whatever the customer needs they have.
Yeah, so that's actually another good point. So one of the things that we talk a lot about at MX Data, and this kind of goes back to how we've collaborated together, is basically, promoting retailers who are trying to grow globally and internationally to have systems in place, right? Different kinds of systems in place to monitor, key performance indicators, customer interaction, market trends, to assess their performance. And so we, obviously retail pro is our primary line of business, and that's our number one and only really go-to for point of sale and inventory control management. But we do a lot of integrations with different systems in order to give international and global retailers access and full visibility across the entire company. Do you feel the same way? And do you guys do the same thing? And what is your experience in like the integration of different systems with Retail Pro?
Definitely, Retail Pro is like the key software for us at EJJE. We have customers all over Latin America, and for us, the integration part is something important. One of the key aspects for Retail Pro right now, and I think in all Latin America, is not that it's not just Retail Pro, the point of sale that it's in place. It's also an integrated solution with the e-commerce or the different inventories that you have. So obviously for us, integration is a key component.
Yeah. What's your biggest integration, you think? Would it be e-commerce, or what you talk a lot about the SAP link, I think. Do you guys do a lot of business with
Yes.
SAP? Yeah.
We have a lot of customers with SAP Business One especially, but we have also customers with SAP S/4HANA and the different versions of SAP. But right now, I think that on the ERP side, SAP is the main integration that we have. And right now, I think the OMS, it's another integration that it's a key factor in doing projects in all over the region.
Nice. Oh, I see Amaro has joined. Hi, Amaro.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me and see me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can.
You do? Finally.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and sorry for being late, but
Oh, yeah.
happy to
worries.
join. Nice to see you, Ever. Hi, Grecia. Hi, Milton, Megan, Jada.
Hi. We were sort of just talking about the importance of different systems and being able to integrate Retail Pro with different systems, and how that is a highly recommended and also, very important for international and global retailers.
Absolutely. Yeah, please continue.
Well, I mean, I was just going to bring up, when we were just talking about the integrations, we have Portal MX, and you are, head of our development team. Do you have any insight into the integrations and how that's important for retailers?
Yeah, certainly. So, in Latin America, as much as in North America and all over the world, one of the major things that any retailer is looking for is the notion of multi-channel or omni-channel fulfillment. So in other words, a retailer wants to be able to sell their product to their customers wherever their customers are. And so that means in the store, that could mean pop-up shops, and of course, that means e-commerce, right? So shoppers going online to look for products from their favorite brands, and the retailers, again, want to meet them where they are. And so applications or platforms like the Portal MX one that you mentioned, Megan, is an opportunity for retailers to do best of breed, where they might select a point of sale system, which they're using to operate in the stores, maybe an ERP system. And then they have a purpose-built dedicated website running on a platform like, let's say, like a Shopify or Magento, for example, and they want to have all of those integrated. And so somebody placing an order on the web could potentially be fulfilled from anywhere in the retailer's channel. So if there's a notion in retail called long tail, which is basically wherever the product is in my company, I own it, and therefore I should be able to sell it. So whether it's sitting in a stockroom in a store, or on a shelf on a warehouse, or in a third-party supplier, I want to be able to get that product into the shopper's hand. And platforms like Portal MX help the retailer along that supply chain process to ensure that when orders are placed online, that they are allocated across the channel, whichever system they're in, and that the retailer is able to fulfill those orders. So that's just one example.
Awesome. Before you joined, we were talking about how EJJE and MXD have collaborated together on several different accounts over the last years. One of the next questions I was going to kind of bring up is, why is it important for retailers to know that they have business partners like us to help them figure out how to navigate expansion into different regions, and how we kind of work together to make that happen? So either Ever or Amaro, if you can give us some details on your past experience of how we've done that with some of our mutual customers, or just any thoughts or feedback you have that we would want to make our audience aware of.
Well, I don't mind kicking that off if you don't mind, Ever.
What?
I'll take the question first if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So whichever direction it is, but I think for the purposes of this conversation, we're talking about retailers who probably don't yet have a foothold, or at least not a strong foothold in Latin America, and they're coming from other countries, let's say like the USA, where MX Data is located, or perhaps Europe, and somewhere like that. Or it could be the other way around. You might have a retailer who's headquartered and principally operating in Latin America and is looking to expand into the US. So to your question, Megan, one of the one of the big advantages that any business has with working with a local partner is the local partner is able to work with the retailer, number one, in their principal language, which is less of a concern since a lot of people are either multilingual or speaking English, but more so culturally and adapt to the business and what's called environment aware. So, for example, if I'm an American company and I'm working with an American retailer, chances are that I have already a good familiarity with the way the American retailer works. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I have a good idea about how the retailer needs to work when they want to expand, for example, into Brazil or into Peru or into El Salvador, wherever they may be, in Mexico, right? There's different regulations, there's fiscal requirements, there's also cultural requirements, or not cultural requirements, but cultural things that I, as an American who's based out of New York, may not understand a way of doing local business. And so there's a lot of things that the local business partners bring to the table that will help the retailers navigate all of those challenges that are specific to the region that they're looking to expand into. And so when you're an American company, for example, working with an organization like MX Data, we are able to work with them as a kind of account manager, potentially like a one throat to choke or a one hand to shake, hopefully. And then we can partner with organizations like Evers with EJJE to help bring us into that country in a graceful way and in an expert way to navigate, as we said, all of those fiscal requirements, develop the relationships that they have locally. Organizations like EJJE, they've been around for years and have already built a lot of relationships within their regions that, in reality, MX Data doesn't have those relationships and vice versa. So that is absolutely a way that we have worked in the past. For example, I'm thinking of there was a high fashion luxury retailer that is based out of the UK. So they have many stores throughout Europe. And they were looking to open up their first stores in Brazil. Brazil has a very specific way of working in terms of the work culture, in terms of the way people work, the business hours, the business days, but more importantly, in terms of the fiscal kinds of regulations that they have. And we work with a local business partner in Brazil. They really cut down the level of effort that it required for the retailer to understand running quickly and how to be able to get their ERP and POS systems to be compliant with the local regulations, the fiscal regulations, specific hardware, for example, that's required in Brazil that isn't required, for example, in the UK or in the US. So those are some examples that come to mind.
And I think that to add a little bit more on what Amaro mentioned, I think that the important for customers is that it doesn't matter where you are located. It could be the US or Latin America or whatever the other country is. You know that Retail Pro in this particular case, it's already localized to meet all the needs for the business to start operating. So I think that the customer has one less thing to worry about the point of sale, because they will have a single system that will manage all the different countries that they want to expand. It's more just a business decision or a business problems that they will have to operate in that country, but not a point of sale system issues that usually customers, when they want to go ahead and expand to different countries, that's like the major issue that they have.
So retailers can feel confident working with MX Data and EJJE and expanding their businesses worldwide.
That's correct.
Last question I have, because it all comes back to full circle, the customer experience and the customer journey. And I know in the United States, the big things that we focus on are customer loyalty, buy online, picking up in store, creating an in-app shopping experience for customers. And I'm just wondering, can you guys give an example of some of the important things in your market that is kind of driving the whole customer experience today? What's important to your customer journey?
Definitely the customers, as Amaro was mentioning, they want to buy something. And if you have the product, they don't care where the product is coming from. It could be the store, it could be the warehouse, it could be from whatever place you have it. So I think that the OMS solution is an important key factor for doing retail implementations nowadays. And having integration with different marketplaces, depending on the country that you're going to open your operation, it's important. For example, if you go to Mexico or to Chile, marketplaces like Mercado Libre, most probably Amazon or even Walmart are important integrations that you must have, because you don't want to sell only from your web page or your e-commerce. You want to also sell from different marketplaces, and your sales are going to grow a lot.
Mhm. Okay, good points. I mean, that kind of wraps up all the questions and all the topics that I wanted to discuss today. If anybody else has anything that you'd like to discuss or bring to the table or just kind of throw out there before we wrap things up, now's the time.
Yeah, why not? I know, again, I apologize for joining that call late, but so maybe there might be some stuff that's a little bit repetitive, but just to kind of recap what I think are some advantages, just look at my notes here. So, really, I think the number one thing is talking about partnerships and collaborations in general, right? And so the point is, don't go it alone. There's a saying that having it all doesn't mean doing it all, right? Not doing it all yourself. And so from a retailer's perspective, you will make your life more difficult if you are trying to simply start from scratch and do everything all by yourself, right? So you want to leverage the expertise that's already there, that's already out on the market. And you want to leverage not just your local resources, but of course the local resources within the regions that you're looking to expand to. And so when you have a situation like we're talking about here, where you have already good relationships with a local partner that can gracefully introduce you to other networks, it makes sense to take advantage of that, because that's going to lower your time to market or your time to create, to jump into that local market. And so, the benefits of that local market knowledge and expertise, these are things like understanding the market dynamics, the consumer preferences, the cultural nuances, the regulatory environment. And when we partner with those companies, they provide us with insights that we're not necessarily aware of either. And they help us to tailor the products and also the marketing strategies to suit the local taste, because how you market in the US is not necessarily how you're going to market in Argentina, for example. An example of a big company, Walmart is of course a huge retailer, if not the world's largest retailer. When they entered in Mexico, they didn't do it by themselves. They partnered with a local retailer, which helped Walmart to gain a foothold there. We talked about the distribution networks. The local providers, they already have established networks and they have expertise in getting equipment. So, a big part of retail is there's a physical piece to it. Like, you actually have to source equipment. You're not going to be buying equipment from the US and shipping it to Brazil necessarily. And so again, you want to take advantage of those local supply chains, and that's going to increase your efficiency and be more cost effective for you. Regulatory compliance, as we talked about, the local business partners will help you navigate those complex environments, and they'll help you to ensure that you are complying with the local laws, or put you in contact with those organizations that can help you, whether it be like local tax experts or even legal experts, as well as building codes are different in different regions, things like that. The cultural adaptation and the brand localization. So when you're working with local businesses, we just talked about this a little bit, there's also a branding aspect to it, a marketing aspect, a product offering. So the point is, not everything is just purely technical. It's not all just IT. There is a sales and a marketing aspect to it. And even if you're relating to somebody as an IT partner, again, you can use them to leverage either other resources that you may not be aware of in terms of marketing, sales and marketing expertise that they have, or again, they might introduce you to somebody else that other businesses are benefiting from locally, and they'll help you to align with the local cultural preferences and trends. Technology, we talked about technology. There's local technology companies. Ever mentioned Mercado Libre, for example, which also has they have a payment platform called Mercado Pago. You should, if you're a retailer, you want to be aware that exists, and that if you're not already working with them, you're probably going to want to work with them to get your product out on the market. And so when you work with those local companies, they'll help you either, number one, make you aware, or number two, help you to integrate with those technologies, whether they be local payment solutions, e-commerce platforms, and marketing tools. And that's going to ultimately lead to an enhanced customer experience for your customers, meaning the retailer's customer. And that's what it's all about, ultimately, customer experience to be great. And so when you collaborate with them, you're going to improve their experience by offering them better customer support, meaning like localized support. You're not necessarily relying on somebody who's in the UK to service or support your who are in Venezuela, for example. And so that should help you with faster response times. Cost efficiency, resource optimization. We've talked about improving your logistics and your supply chain. For example, if you need to be able to warehouse your product in areas, if you're a business looking to expand into another country, you're going to want to understand what your options are for warehousing your product, but also for transporting your product, and especially if you want to do last mile delivery, right? Like here in the US, you have things like Uber and Lyft. You want to understand what options are available to you in those local regions if you are going to offer the ability for retailers to buy something online and have it delivered to them the same day, for example. Another case study that I made a note of is H&M. H&M came into Latin America. They had a challenge. It was a new market for them. They partnered with local real estate developers to get prime real estate in shopping malls. So, of course, all the demographics, making sure that they were getting themselves into the right places. And they collaborated with local logistic companies to streamline their supply chain operations. This enabled them to quickly establish a strong presence in markets like Mexico and Colombia. And now they have a ton of successful store openings and robust sales growth. They wouldn't have done that necessarily as effectively or quickly as they did. So there's a lot of other case studies like that. You can think of Alibaba in Asia, Walmart, and others who we've talked about. So by forming those strategic partnerships, I think that retailers will optimize their operations and they'll accelerate their expansion efforts. And again, get into the company as cost efficiently and get into the country or the region as cost efficiently and as quickly as you can, while ensuring that you have the optimal customer experience at the end.
Thank you, Mauro. Those are good points. And we really, really value your level of expertise in this topic, and Ever, also you. And we also value our partnership with EJJE, and we have a lot of initiatives going on this year together, so including a current project. So we'll be in touch over the next couple of days and weeks. But no, I really appreciate you guys joining us today. This was a good topic, and I wish everybody a great week. And
one more thing. So actually, sorry, because we were talking about the benefits, I will just bring up a pitfall, right? So what happens if you don't do that? What happens if you don't, go about things the way that we're talking about? Listen, people can do what they want. Companies will do what they want. But one caveat of not using, for example, technology which is purpose-built for the market and that doesn't have a strong local support presence is a retailer might find themselves working to patch and customize system just to be compliant in the locality, right? Or just to align with the end user's expectations based on their experience with the local solution. In other words, if I'm a shopper, I expect there's a kind of baseline that I have of an experience when I go into a store. If some newfangled technology shows up that doesn't wind up being as pleasant for me as a shopper in terms of experience, I'm not going to be happy, and that's going to lead to lost sales. So I know Ever mentioned Retail Pro. Retail Pro is one of the solutions that we represent. And so, for example, Retail Pro is a retail management system that is already localized in over 100 countries, and it already has over 90 regional support partners who have that deep expertise in implementing and tailoring and supporting those solutions locally. So again, just one of the pitfalls and one of the advantages to working with well-established networks.
No, yeah, thank you. Thank you for adding that. Well, Team EJJE, anything else that you want to bring up, or any questions or anything new going on at EJJE that we want to make our viewers aware of?
Well, as Amaro was mentioning, I think that one of the important aspects is how do grow your business. Huh? So it doesn't matter where you want to go. Retail, it's already, most probably it's already there. In Latin America, I think it's already there. One of the few projects, one of the last projects that we are doing, it's actually in Uruguay. It's gonna roll out most probably July 1st, a big bang. So it's gonna be a new project for us.
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for attending our digital fireside chat, and have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.